Before you even think this story can't get darker, trust me, you're not ready for what investigators found buried beneath the quiet streets of Luxembourg. This is the case detectives still whisper about, the one that forced European authorities to question everything they thought they knew about surveillance, obsession, and the human mind. Before we dive in, drop a comment and let us know where you're watching from. We'd love to hear from you. If you enjoy true crime stories like this, be sure to like the video, subscribe, turn on the notification bell, and share it with someone who'd love it too. The night the first body was found, Luxembourg City glowed like a jewel under the fog, calm, orderly, deceivingly perfect. But inside the narrow alley behind Rue de Bouchers, police headlights flashed against stone walls as officers moved with the restless urgency of people walking into something they didn't yet understand. Detective Armand Keller, a man known for reading crime scenes like other people read books, ducked under the yellow tape. The air felt wrong, colder than the rest of the night. A forensic tech stepped toward him. Victims male. Mid-30s. No visible injuries. No signs of a struggle. The tech hesitated, lowering his voice. But he has something stuffed in his hand. Something strange. Keller knelt beside the body. The man lay peacefully, almost staged, like he'd fallen asleep and never woken up. But the detail that drew Keller's attention wasn't the face, nor the posture. It was the tiny earbud crushed in the victim's fist. A cheap, generic brand. Nothing remarkable, except for one thing. It wasn't connected to any device. Keller frowned. Cause of death? Unknown, the tech replied. But whatever it wasn't natural. The alley was narrow, old, and quiet, too quiet. No witnesses. No cameras. Just an unsettling silence broken only by police radios. Minutes later, the victim was identified as Henrik Janssen, a Dutch IT consultant who'd been in Luxembourg for a week. No criminal record. No known enemies. Nothing about his life suggested he'd die alone in an alley clutching a disconnected earbud. But Keller had worked enough strange cases to recognize when something made no sense, and when something was deliberate. As dawn broke, a second team searched Henrik's hotel room at the Grand Rue Apartments. Nothing stood out, until they opened his laptop. The hard drive had been wiped. Not erased. Not formatted. Wiped clean with professional-grade tools, the kind used by intelligence agencies or high-level cybercriminals. Keller stared at the blank screen, a prickling tension rising in his chest. "What were you listening to, Henrik?" he murmured. "And who wanted it deleted?" 2 days later, before the city had time to process the first death, a second body appeared. This time in Kirkberg, the modern financial district, far from the quiet charm of the old town. A young woman lay slumped on a bench outside the European Court of Justice. Her name, Alina Romer, a law clerk known for her precision, discipline, and spotless reputation. No visible injuries. Another earbud clutched in her hand. And once again, no connected device. Inside her apartment, police searched through perfectly arranged legal texts, color-coded binders, and an organized workstation. But her phone was missing. Her laptop? Wiped. Just like Henrik's. Keller felt the pressure mounting. Luxembourg was small, too small for two deaths with the same bizarre signature. Word was spreading through high-level circles, and Keller's phone was buzzing non-stop with quiet, frantic calls from government contacts demanding updates he didn't yet have. The media didn't know the pattern yet. But someone did. And they were accelerating. Keller returned to his office late that night, dropping into his chair with the weight of 2 unexplained deaths pressing down on him. He opened the reports again, flipping through photos of Henrik and Alina. No connection. No shared workplaces. No overlapping social circles. Nothing obvious. Yet each had died peacefully, eerily peacefully. He pressed his fingers to his temples. What am I missing? He didn't notice the young intern from the cyber-analysis team hover in the doorway until she cleared her throat. "Detective Keller? You told us to check every communication device that wasn't wiped." She stepped in, holding a plastic evidence bag. "We found something. On Henrik's smartwatch." Keller sat up straighter. It recorded his last 3 minutes of audio. Keller's heart thudded. "Play it." She connected the watch to her tablet, opened a secure audio file, and pressed play. At first, there was nothing. Just faint background noise of footsteps and city ambience. But at the 30-second mark, something shifted. A faint hum. Like static. Soft, rhythmic, unnatural. Then a voice, not speaking words, but whispering something unintelligible. Not fast. Not slow. Just, deliberate. Like it was speaking to Henrik, not around him. Keller leaned forward. "Enhance it." The intern adjusted the settings. Noise reduction. Clarity filters. The whisper sharpened slightly, still distorted, still impossible to fully decode. But one thing became clear. Henrik had responded. A quiet, terrified voice. Who are you? How are you in my ear if my... The audio cut abruptly, as if someone had shut it off mid-sentence. The room felt colder. What was that? Keller asked quietly. The intern swallowed. We ran it through voice recognition. It doesn't match any known speaker. No human vocal pattern. No synthetic voice we've catalogued. It's almost between frequencies. Keller stared at the audio spectrogram. The whisper formed a shape he didn't like, a compressed, unnatural pattern. Something off. Something intentional. Detective, the intern added, the media will know about the second body by morning. We need a direction. What do we tell them? Keller didn't answer. Because in that moment, something clicked, not fully, not clearly, but enough to make his pulse spike. 2 victims. Both listening to something minutes before they died. Something that contacted them, but didn't need a device. Something that left no physical trace, but wiped every digital one. He whispered the thought that had been clawing at the back of his mind since the moment he heard the audio. Someone is using sound as a weapon. He didn't know how. He didn't know why. But he knew one thing. Whoever was behind it wasn't just killing. They were listening too. The next morning, Keller arrived at Henrik's hotel for a second sweep. Something about the case kept dragging him back to the same unanswered questions. As he walked down the dim hallway toward Henrik's room, a housekeeper hurried toward him. Detective? You told us not to enter the guest's room unless authorized, but someone was here. Keller stopped. What do you mean? I came to drop towels and the door was unlocked. I thought your team returned, but when I checked, she hesitated, visibly shaken. The room was different. Keller's muscles tensed. Different how? She pointed at the door. See for yourself. Keller pushed into the room and froze. Every drawer was open. Every pillow torn. Every inch of the room searched. But nothing was stolen. Nothing except one thing. Henrik's earbud was gone from the evidence tray. Someone had broken into a sealed crime scene. Someone had known exactly what to take. Keller's stomach clenched as a realization washed over him. The killer wasn't covering their tracks. They were retrieving something. Something critical. Something they couldn't leave behind. He turned to the housekeeper, his voice sharp with urgency. Whoever entered this room, how long ago? She swallowed. 20 minutes. Maybe less. Keller sprinted down the hall toward the stairwell, pushing through the door, but the staircase echoed with emptiness. Whoever it was had vanished. But they'd left one thing behind, something Keller noticed only as he looked down at the floor. A single paper-thin audio filter disc, used by professionals who worked in sound engineering or high-level interception. A disc marked with a symbol Keller recognized instantly. Because it belonged to a covert group rumored in European intelligence circles but never publicly acknowledged. A group known as the Listeners Guild. His breath caught. If this was their work, then the city wasn't dealing with a killer. They were dealing with someone who could hear everything. And silence wasn't safety. Silence was the trap. Keller gripped the disc, feeling a pulse of dread tighten in his chest. Whatever was coming next, he wasn't ready for it. But he had no choice. Because 20 minutes ago, the ghost listener had been here. And they'd taken exactly what they needed for the next victim. And when Keller opened the closet door to check for more evidence, what he found inside changed everything. Detective Armand Keller froze in the hotel room doorway as the closet door creaked open. The dim light from the hallway spilled into the narrow space, revealing something so unexpected that for a moment, he forgot to breathe. Inside the closet sat a portable acoustic isolation box, a compact, matte black device used by surveillance experts to analyze audio without interference. It hadn't been there during the initial sweep. The intruder had placed it after searching the room. Or they wanted someone to find it. A small LED on the device blinked, soft and steady. Green. Active. Keller stepped closer, careful not to disturb anything. He reached in with a gloved hand and lifted the lid. Inside lay a pair of custom-made bone conduction pads, a thin metallic coil, and a single note, handwritten in neat, clinical strokes. You're listening to the wrong things, detective. No signature. No threat. Not even instructions. Just a message. And the coil, a triangular piece of metal, was warm, as if recently used. Keller's pulse quickened. Someone had been in this room minutes before. Someone who didn't care that the police were closing in. Someone who wanted to communicate. But why? Before he could analyze further, his phone buzzed sharply in his pocket. He answered with a terse, Keller. A frantic voice spoke from the forensic lab. Detective, you need to get back here, now. It's about the second victim. Keller closed the acoustic box, slid the note into an evidence bag, and rushed out of the hotel. The Luxembourg National Forensics Center buzzed with movement. Specialists hurried between labs, murmuring in hushed tones. As Keller arrived, the lead pathologist, Dr. Elodie Marant, motioned for him to follow her. Her usual calm expression was replaced with unease. "We finished the deeper cranial scans on Alina Romer," she said. "And we found something." "What kind of something?" Keller asked. Marant hesitated before opening her tablet and pulling up a set of high-resolution CT images. The scans showed Alina's inner ear, the cochlea, the auditory nerve, all seemingly intact. But near the temporal bone was a hairline fracture so thin it looked like a long white whisper across the image. "Microfractures?" Keller asked. "Yes," Dr. Marant confirmed. "But extremely precise. Almost surgical." Keller leaned in. "What caused it?" "A directed audio force," she said. "Below the threshold of human hearing, but strong enough to disrupt neural pathways. It wouldn't leave marks. It wouldn't create bruising. It would just stop the brain." Keller felt a cold shiver run through him. "Are you saying someone killed her with sound?" Dr. Marant nodded slowly. "Not sound as we know it. Something engineered. Something targeted. Whoever did this understood the auditory system too well." "And Henrik?" Keller pressed. "We're running the same tests," she said. "But based on early results, yes. Same signature. 2 deaths. 1 weapon. A ghost listener." Keller returned to his office with a folder full of grim revelations and a mind spinning with questions. Across the bulletin board, photos of Henrik and Alina stared back at him. Red strings connected maps, timestamps, and device logs, but none of it told him the one thing he needed. Why these two? He pulled up both victims' timelines, overlapping them across a large digital screen. They had no contact. No shared locations. No mutual acquaintances. But when Keller zoomed in on the days leading up to the murders, something odd appeared. Both had visited Lux Expo the Box, the city's massive convention center. Different days. Different events. Henrik attended a global cyber defense showcase. Alina attended a private symposium on European data protection laws. Irrelevant? Maybe. But when Keller overlaid their movement paths, one thing aligned. Both had passed, at different times, through Hall 4, a lesser-used section of the complex. Why Hall 4? Keller whispered. He checked rental logs. Hall 4 had been booked for a week by a private acoustic research group, Heliosonic Labs, based in Zurich. Specialists in sound engineering, non-intrusive surveillance, and communication technologies. Keller felt a sharp twist in his chest at the name. Heliosonic Labs was a known front for the Listeners Guild. He stared at the booking document. The group had packed up and left Luxembourg the morning after Alina's death. Keller grabbed his coat. If Hall 4 held answers, he was going to rip them out. Lux Expo loomed large in the fading daylight, a modern skeleton of steel, glass, and echoes. Keller showed his credentials at the entrance, and a security officer escorted him to Hall 4. The hall was empty. A cavernous room with a faint chemical smell and faint outlines on the floor where equipment had recently been removed. But something about the silence felt wrong. It wasn't just quiet. It was controlled. Keller walked slowly across the hall, scanning the floor. A small glint caught his eye, a thin metal strip wedged between 2 tiles. He knelt and carefully extracted it. A microfilament. The same material used in directional sound projection rigs. He scanned the room again, noticing circular patterns in the dust, tripod marks. Then he saw something on the far wall. A faint rectangular discoloration. He approached and pressed lightly. The panel clicked. A concealed compartment swung open. Inside, a single data card sat in a plastic slot. The card was unmarked, matte black, heavily scratched, a sign of hasty removal. Keller slipped it into an evidence bag. Then he noticed something else, tucked behind a loose wire. A folded piece of paper. Another note. He unfolded it. 3 targets. 2 are complete. The last one is already listening. Keller's breath stopped. There was a 3rd victim. Still alive. Already listening. Already trapped. He rushed out of the hall, calling his team. Trace every visitor to Hall 4 in the last 10 days. I want names. Addresses. Phone numbers. Now. As he reached his car, his phone buzzed again. Unknown number. He answered cautiously. Keller. A distorted voice whispered through the speaker, calm, measured, almost emotionless. Detective, you shouldn't have opened the closet. Keller froze. A soft, static-filled breath hissed through the line. You're hearing us now. Then the call cut? Cold dread washed over Keller. The message wasn't a warning. It was a fact. He had become the next target. He checked his phone, no call trace, no metadata, nothing. The number didn't exist. He found himself listening to the quiet around him. Listening too closely. Listening like the victims had. Then his phone buzzed again, this time a text message. No sender. Just 6 words. Words that hit him harder than any threat. Your third target is someone close. Someone close to him? A colleague? A friend? A family member? His chest tightened. Who? He demanded aloud, staring at the screen. But the phone didn't answer. Instead, a new message appeared. Check their devices. His heart pounded. He knew exactly what that meant. And exactly what he had to do. But as he turned his car key, he heard it, faint, soft, crawling through the speaker system. A whisper. Not words. Just a sound. A sound he recognized from Henrik's final recording. The ghost listener had already reached him. And if he didn't move fast, someone close to him would die next. And when Keller finally reached home and checked the first device, what he found made his blood run cold. Detective Armand Keller reached his apartment with a tension he hadn't felt in years. The hall outside was quiet, but the silence felt wrong, thick, heavy, pressing against him like an invisible hand. He unlocked the door and stepped inside. Everything looked normal. Too normal. His home, a place that once offered comfort, now felt like the stage of a crime he hadn't discovered yet. He moved cautiously from room to room, scanning for signs of tampering. Nothing was overturned. No drawers disturbed. No footprints. No shadows where they shouldn't be. But he could feel presence, not physical, not visual, but something else. Listening. He approached his living room with growing dread and went straight to the small table by the window. His daughter's old tablet sat there, screen cracked from her last visit. She used it only occasionally, mostly to video call him from Berlin. It wasn't supposed to be powered on. But the screen glowed faintly. Keller's stomach tightened. He tapped it awake. The home screen was blank. Not wiped, muted. Every icon removed except one folder labeled simply Open. Keller exhaled as a chill crept up his spine. He tapped the folder. Inside was a single audio file. Timestamped 20 minutes earlier. The exact moment he'd received the ghost listener's call. He pressed play. The recording started with ambient noise from his apartment, the hum of the refrigerator, distant traffic, wind brushing the balcony. Then footsteps. Someone had been inside. Light, careful, measured. Not searching. Not stealing. Just moving. Listening. A faint breath filled the speaker. A soft exhale. Steady. Controlled. Not quite natural. Somewhere between human and engineered, like a voice passed through layers of filters. Then, a whisper. Close to the microphone. Too close. She is listening now. Keller's blood turned cold. She could only mean one person. His daughter. He ended the recording and immediately called her. The phone rang, once, twice, 3 times, then connected. Papa? Her voice sounded normal. Alive. Safe. But Keller wasn't relieved, not yet. Lena. Are you home? Yes. Why? Is everything okay? You sound. Don't put anything to your ear, he said sharply. Not your phone. Not your headphones. Nothing. Put the phone on speaker. Now. There was a pause, then the faint crackle of speaker mode. Okay, what's happening? Keller paced his living room, breath tight. Did you use your tablet today? The one here at my place? No, I haven't been there in weeks. Papa, you're scaring me. Keller closed his eyes. The ghost listener had accessed his home. His daughter's old device. A message left not for him, but for her. Lena, listen to me. Did anyone contact you today? Unknown calls? Strange messages? Anything unusual? She hesitated. There was one call. A strange number. It rang once and stopped. Keller felt a squeezing in his chest. Did you answer? No. A breath of relief escaped him, short-lived. Papa, what is this about? He hesitated, wrestling with how much to tell her. But lying wouldn't protect her. There's someone using sound technology to target people. 2 are dead. They left a message here. They know you. A sharp inhale sounded from the speaker. Me? Why me? You're my daughter. That's enough for them. Silence. Then? What do I do? You stay exactly where you are and don't answer anything, he said. Keep your devices away from your ears. I'm coming to get you. He hung up and grabbed his keys. But when he opened the door to leave, his phone buzzed again. Unknown number. Against his instincts, he answered. Detective, the voice murmured, distorted, stretched. You're running out of time. Keller clenched his jaw. If you touch her, you don't understand, the voice whispered. We don't touch. We listen. We guide. We correct. Why my daughter? Keller demanded. Because she already heard us. Keller froze. A cold, sharp spike of fear pierced him. What did she hear? The voice softened. A sound she didn't recognize. Earlier today. Passing by a cafe. Through a ventilation grate. Just a whisper. Not enough to kill. Enough to link. Keller's grip tightened around the phone. She doesn't even know, the voice continued. But we do. And what do you want? Keller growled. To finish the third correction, the voice answered. Unless you stop us. You're close, detective. So close that we're willing to let you try. The line went silent. The call ended. And Keller understood something with chilling clarity. The ghost listener didn't fear him. They invited him. The drive to Berlin felt endless. Every kilometer heightened Keller's anxiety. Every car that passed made him tighten his grip on the wheel. He kept checking his phone, terrified of seeing a missed call from his daughter. But when he finally reached her building, she was waiting outside, pale, anxious, but alive. He rushed to her and pulled her into an embrace. We're going to the police station, he said. You'll stay under surveillance. No devices. No signals. But as they headed to the car, Keller noticed something. A small package on the passenger seat. No label. No sender. Just a thin, elegant black box. His breath caught. He opened it slowly. Inside was a miniature directional audio device, slim, sharp, and unmistakably heliosonic design. But it wasn't the device that chilled him. It was the note beneath it. You found the card from Hall 4. But you didn't open it. Keller swallowed hard. The memory card. The one from the hidden compartment. The one he'd been too afraid to plug into any system. He took it out of his evidence bag and stared at it. The ghost listener had known exactly what he would hesitate to do. With trembling resolve, Keller inserted the card into his secure police laptop. A single file appeared. Video. He opened it. A man sat in a dim, soundproof room, profile blurred but posture rigid. He spoke clearly, without distortion. My name is Dr. Luca Van Holt. Senior Engineer, Heliosonic Labs. If you're watching this, I am dead. Keller's heart pounded. Van Holt continued. The Listeners Guild has developed a system to manipulate neural responses through targeted infrasound. I sabotaged the prototype. They found out. I ran. He swallowed hard. They will kill anyone who overheard even a fragment of the test signal. 3 visitors at Lux Expo. 3 unintentional listeners. They call them corrections. Keller froze. 3 listeners. Henrik, Alina, and his daughter, who had unknowingly passed near the test vent. Van Holt leaned closer to the camera. If your loved one has been exposed, there is only one countermeasure. Only one safe frequency that can interrupt their signal. He hesitated. But using it will expose you. And they will come for you. The video ended. Keller's hands trembled. His daughter stared at him, terrified. Papa, what do we do? He looked at her, tears forming in his eyes. We save you. He drove them to a secure acoustic lab used by the police for classified testing. With trembling precision, he calibrated the counter-frequency described in Van Holt's file, a soft, pulsing tone designed to sever the link between victim and attacker. The hum filled the room like a heartbeat. His daughter winced. It feels strange. Just hold on, he said, voice breaking. Seconds passed. Then minutes. Her breathing steadied. The tension in her eyes softened. It stopped, she whispered. The pressure in my head, it stopped. Relief washed over Keller like a breaking wave. He had saved her. But the victory lasted only a heartbeat. Because the moment he shut down the machine, every speaker in the lab clicked on. Then came the whisper. Not distorted. Not filtered. But clear. Human. Cold. You made your correction, detective. A pause. Now we make ours. Keller spun around, searching the shadows, but no one was there. Just the faint hum of the building and the low buzz of his phone. A message appeared on the screen. No sender. Just 5 words. You're the 4th listener. Keller felt the floor drop under him. His daughter clutched his arm. Papa. He opened his mouth to speak. But then he heard it. A faint hum in his right ear. Soft. Persistent. Calling. Listening. He staggered backward, gripping the table. The ghost listener hadn't failed. They had simply chosen a different target. Him. Detective Armand Keller was already marked. Already connected. Already hearing them. And he understood the final truth too late. The ghost listener didn't silence victims to hide secrets. They silenced them to prevent the spread of the signal. A signal Keller had now heard. The story ended not with a killer behind bars, but with a detective realizing he had become part of the very case he tried to solve. He turned to his daughter, his voice a thread of air. Run. She didn't move. Papa, no. Run. His vision darkened. The whisper grew louder. Closer. Inside. The last thing he heard before collapsing to his knees was the same voice that haunted all 3 victims. Correction complete. If you think this story was intense, you're not ready for the next one. Hit subscribe so you don't miss it.